All right. So we want to welcome everyone to this presentation of consciousness ascending. This is another conscious discussion, and we are very excited to be here. Excited for each of you participating here live, and for those of you who are coming in contact with this recording, we're excited for each of you, and we are excited to be of support. So let's get started. Yeah, excellent. Excellent. This is a perfect time perfect time to be here. Perfect time for each of you to be here participating in this type of interaction. Perfect time, whether you believe it or not, to be on your plane of existence because evolution is evolution, no matter where you are, no matter where you find yourself, whether on this plane or another plane, there are aspects that are opportunities for growth. There are aspects that will be catalyst for your growth and expansion. There is no plane of existence of which there is just ice cream and rainbows, if you will. And there's no plane of existence that you at the soul level would even want that because your purpose is to grow. Your purpose is to expand. Your purpose is to move through challenges. To do what? To discover the truth of you, to discover more about yourself, what's possible, what you're capable of. And yes, sometimes, oftentimes, individuals can get stuck in ideas for a period of time, sometimes even a lifetime. But truth be told, it can be just part of the process, right? Truth be told, that there have been times or there have been lifetimes where you have continued to explore a similar idea, right? Maybe you were a king, maybe you were a queen, exploring abundance at that level. Or maybe you were from your perspective, the poorest of the poor and exploring experience from that level. And it took more than one lifetime for you to graduate, if you will, for you to understand the truth of it or the not so truth of it compared to the truth of you in source, that you might move beyond that into a new experience or begin to choose to move beyond it. Many times individuals get to the place where they are what you might say fed up, if you will. They might get to that place of extreme frustration where they say, you know what, I'm angry at this experience, tired of this experience, or maybe even they hate this experience. Many of you see those ideas as not great, but oftentimes at rock bottom, those are the places where a person begins to move into action and begins to narrow their focus on what? On what they actually desire. For the frustration is only born of focusing on that which you do not want. Focus on that which you do not want creates and yields the frustration, the inner conflict. Focus on that which you do want. If you're able to focus on it long enough to begin to generate the feeling, creates higher frequency, higher vibe feelings. When you're anticipating the experience of a excellent family gathering or a birthday party, and you feel the feeling of that. There's nothing bad about it. There's no low vibe in it. When you're focusing on that which you do not desire, maybe some type of relationship or an experience at work, and you're focused on the happening of what you did not like or did not want, then there is the feeling, the discomfort, the conflict that occurs on the inside. So whenever you begin to focus on what is desired, the feeling changes, the intention and the energies around it change. And you actually begin to align yourself with where you actually want to go and want to be. And sometimes this can take a lifetime or more for a person to move to that point. Now, at the soul level, they see it. They see what's happening. They understand what's happening, right? But in the physical form, physical plane interaction, it can be very difficult to see because one is often swallowed in the experience, enveloped in the experience. But for those of you who are participating in this interaction, for those of you who are consuming this information, you are getting to the point where you are beginning to look inward. You're beginning to look inward and be able to see how your inner makeup is matching your external experience. You're beginning to see how you are with a level of frequency considering the absence of a thing, which is what is aligning you with that experience. And that's not a bad thing. That's an empowering thing because the minute you begin to see and accept that your inner world is not only matching, but the first position to your external world, then you begin to realize your true power. Then you begin to realize your true potential, your true capability. And then from that point, it's just to begin to whittle away at the resistance, whittle away at those things that are not true or that you don't intend to be true for you. And the more you whittle away at them, the more you discover that all has been potential all along and that you can begin to choose. And as you begin to choose and begin to be more and more consistent in your choosing and your expressing, you begin to see how your experience begins to mirror that. You begin to see how, okay, I've been feeling good for a period of time, and I can see how feel good experiences have begun to make their way to me to a greater degree than I remember. Well, it's been a long time since something happened that was terrible or not so great. Wow, abundance exploded into my experience from the most unexpected position. I had no idea. Little things like that begin to happen when you're consistently expressing in alignment. And these are the things that you come to see when you begin to look inward. And again, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Beginning to look inward, beginning to see the correlation between the inner world and the outer world is a beautiful thing, but you have to get through and move through the frustration. You have to begin to move through the idea of the struggle with taking that level of responsibility. But once you begin to do that, and once you begin to get more and more excited at the empowering nature of looking inward versus the responsibility of it per se, then things really begin to speed up. So at this point, we will open for any questions or comments that you might have. And we're excited again to be of support.
Well, you just reminded me that last Saturday or this past Saturday, I had an excellent family gathering.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really excellent. And when I left it, I thought, wow, that was really good. But then you just made me realize how very good it was because there were two people at that family gathering that I've had um, very negative relationship with
Mm-hmm.
that caused me a lot of pain and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them turned around this uh, past year, but the other one turned around Saturday. And it, and what happened was what I did, what I know I did consciously was I finally accepted them. I
Mm-hmm.
just totally, I gave up on trying to fix it and overcompensating and wishing and hoping, and I just accepted it. I'm like, I don't know what this is all about, but it is, and I'm not going to fight it anymore. They they can just be the way they are because I don't control them, and it's just amazing, amazing how they flip. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really weird because I didn't do all of this imagining that
Mm-hmm.
of it being good. I just stopped fighting it.
Yep.
I'm like, you know what? That's the way it is, and it just is, and I'm not going to cry about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't tell you how amazing it really was on Saturday for the second one. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
who was someone I only see once or twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's my son's mother-in-law, and she was so scary to me at the wedding. I actually thought she would have pushed me down the steps. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was that scary. And she could not have been kinder, nicer, or more thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so there's that.
That's
And
powerful. That's powerful. And do you see, for your part, you stopped being a collaborative component to that type of experience the moment you accepted and let go, right? You stop being a collaborative component to it. And when you
no,
stop being a collaborative component to experience, then you begin to see clearly, wow, that person, may or may not be going through an incredible storm, but that doesn't have anything to do with me, right? You're no longer entangled. If you think about quantum entanglement, where the particles are entangled and then over great distances, you're no longer entangled energetically with that person in the creation of that experience. That's powerful.
well, maybe it'll work on my two evil sisters. you,
But
you
when
know
you,
I'm you know I'm
yeah,
making fun, okay?
yeah, yeah.
But because I thought about that and all the crying and pain and suffering I went through because those relationships were not how I thought they should be,
Mm-hmm.
right? I thought we should all be, loving and kind and supportive, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like F you.
Mm-hmm.
And so this year I've been working, this is something I've actually been working on. The other two, I'm just like, I just give up, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And I've pretty much reached that point with them. Um, I think there's still a little bit of stuff there in me, right? Because it's all about me. It they're doing their own thing, living their own life.
Mm-hmm.
And I no longer have any illusions that what I had hoped for will appear. And I think I don't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But a part of me says, well, I thought that's how it should be because we're sisters, we're related by blood. And then another part of me is like, maybe that's irrelevant. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
because if it was meant to be that we would all have a loving relationship, I feel like we all would have a loving relationship. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I feel like maybe it's just like this is just the plan for reasons I don't understand. Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's not. Maybe everybody got off track somewhere. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The only
Mm-hmm.
thing that's important is how I feel,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm only responsible for me. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to go to that, and I pretty much, I think I am. I think you could feel I probably still have some resistance. If I didn't, I don't think I'd be talking about it like this.
Hmm.
But it's not that strong. So,
That's powerful. That's
yeah,
powerful. We were just communicating with someone either this week or last week that had a very that realized a similar circumstance with their family, and that they have individuals in their circle of experience that are friends that feel more like brothers and sisters to them than they're actually blood brothers and sisters. But that's about the idea of expectation,
yeah,
right?
expectation.
While at the same time, there are lessons to be learned because again, those closest to you reflect that which is within you to the highest degree. Those closest to you because your energies are so closely intertwined, right? So the anger or the frustration or the fear or the insecurity that one feels in the presence of another is those ideas being triggered by that individual for whatever reason. So, anybody watching this, the question is the awareness first is I know for a fact that everybody this person encounters doesn't have the same experience with them as I do.
Yeah.
I may not like this person all that much, but there's people that love this person. There's people who would say this person is their best friend and all of those things. Why is my experience not that? Is the question. And that forces you to say, okay, what is it about me that's connecting me in this way to this individual? And it's not for them, it's for you. And when you discover the reasons, it's incredibly empowering. Incredibly empowering. But it's excellent that you see these things.
Well, you've convinced me I need to do some deeper work on this, on this particular. I need to go a little deeper on this particular subject. And the things that I made, some notes about is I'm still feeling a lot of anxiety due to the political situation because, I'm very emotionally involved in that.
Hmm.
But I don't feel like I any longer have to justify why I'm very proactive in it. And
Hmm.
so many people have been like, uh, you have to watch your intention and you can't think about it this way and you can't think about it that way. And where's your focus? Is it on this and is it on that? And and first of all, I feel that's very judgmental. And
Hmm.
second of all, I don't think my focus is to be any of their business. Their
Hmm.
focus should be their business, you
Hmm.
know? So I've pretty much gotten over that, what people think or say, because
Hmm.
I'm very clear about it. But I still have anxiety over the entire situation.
Hmm.
Like the spiritual community, and I've brought this up several times uh, of the spiritual community for years has been saying, oh, how we're all awakening. And yet you see the darkness from the past coming up and like swallowing us. And and so for me, it's been like, well, where's the awakening? You know? It's it's like I don't see the awakening. I see the most selfish and darkest part of humanity coming to the surface.
Hmm.
So then the new spiritual thing that most people are saying is, well, the dark has to come to the surface so people can see it and so that it, you know. You can shine light on it. So I don't know. I ponder these things.
Now think about that, what you just said. That's the exact same thing that an individual does with themselves, right? Anyone armed with you have to become aware of the ideas within you, see them, right? Be able to see them before you can
Yeah,
play with them to transform them, right?
right.
And that's the same thing that's happening externally at the moment. You have to understand that that which is materializing has momentum. Anything that materializes has gained momentum through the energies, that through the attention and the focus that's been given to it. It has built up a level of momentum to begin to materialize externally to where you can perceive it with your physical senses. So that which is being perceived has momentum. And that doesn't mean that there's not, its contrast is not growing in momentum as well, because it is. And in your plane of existence, there's contrast to everything. So, the brightness as a potential, if you will, is gaining momentum as well. And you know that. We've mentioned how you can, look on your social media and see how many people are consuming this type of content. That's the evidence. Now, are they in your political circles? Maybe, maybe not. Are they at the heads of your corporations? Maybe, maybe not. But the momentum is building through the people and individuals that are present on your plane of existence now, and through those being born in the new energies expressed of your planet. All of these things coupled together are increasing the momentum of experience on your plane of existence that one might say is more and more desirable. And we're not talking about any one particular experience, we're talking about the overall vibration. Those present now consuming this type of material and those being born into the new vibration that has been achieved by your planet are all working together in the building of the momentum of this new stage.
Well, um, I hear that. Um, and when I ask myself what I can do, I always get just see it from a distance. Just get further back, further back, further back, further back, and further. That's what I get when I ask myself
Mm-hmm.
about how to deal with my anxiety. It's just pull back, look at it from a distance, and just play out.
That's excellent. That's perfect. That's perfect guidance. Because the more you pull back from it, yes, you can see it, but the more you pull back from it, you detach the emotion from it. That's the only thing that's changing. You're detaching from the emotion that you have had for it, and that helps you to be able to see it more clearly, and it helps you to maintain your centeredness and not be moved one way or
Yeah,
the other by the
yeah.
emotion.
I'm also still, using visualizing light on the planet, the whole
Mm-hmm.
planet,
Mm-hmm.
um, and love. I'm still I'm still doing that, um, and that reduces my anxiety. Doing
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. It
Uh,
has to, right? Because you can't express two different states of being at the same time, right?
oh
So
yeah,
you, if you're holding that light and love for the planet for a long enough period of time, one can't have frustration with the intention of expressing light and love simultaneously, right? It's one or the other.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. So you're supporting yourself and your plane of existence at the same time. But that's one of those things where you have to trust that you're making an impact, because you may not be able to look on your TV screen or look out your window and see that immediately, I did something.
You know, the reason that I do consume media, but I don't consume the traditional media, is because it does make me feel like I'm not alone. I mean, there's millions
Mm-hmm.
and millions of people just like me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's reassuring to know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I would feel very alone, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm the single person holding the candle on the planet. But I
Mm-hmm.
know that's not true, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I do recognize my prejudice I have towards the other people, against the others. Um, I do. I have a prejudice. I'm
Mm-hmm.
aware of it. I see it, and
Mm-hmm.
then a part of me says, if you were enlightened enough or blah 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 enough, you would feel compassion and I have to admit I'm not there, but I do recognize I am prejudiced,
Mm-hmm.
and then you know, that doesn't make me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So then I say, um, you know, they just are unconscious. They haven't woke. They are not awake.
Mm-hmm.
And then that still feels like I'm judging them.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
you know, so that's not that helpful, but it's a little bit more helpful than my
Yes, it is.
initial "you're an effing
Yes, it is.
idiot."
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That is expansion. That's expansion occurring in real time, right? You don't jump from one position to unconditional love.
Right, right.
You
I know.
everybody, even your most enlightened historic figures, those that had their lives chronicled, they have gone through the process, right? Your Buddha's life comes to mind. His process is chronicled.
Martin Luther King.
Process moving through the releasing, the letting go, going from anger and frustration and all these things to a higher state of awareness, right? It's the process. You don't just jump. Now, people can have experiences that move them quickly to other states, right? But it's still a process. Everybody's journey is different. You don't know what someone's journey was in a previous lifetime that supports any type of particular jump, but it's still a process, whether it's this lifetime or multiple lifetimes coming together, which is what each of you are. You're the combination of growth and expansion that has occurred over multiple lifetimes. Any watching this transmission and you're open to these transmissions, you didn't just get here from this life iteration. This is multiple life iterations that have you to this point, accepting of this type of material. And it will continue. But what you're talking about is expansion occurring, right? A question that you could ask is, I know that I'm prejudiced. I know I have these ideas. What is it that these ideas might not be allowing me to see,
Oh,
right? That's a question that could pull a different area of awareness out. What am I not seeing based on these ideas? Because they are shadows, they are clouds, right? To expanded perception, expanded awareness, expanded interpretation of events and circumstances.
Yeah.
They're clouds. They're clouds. They're shadows.
Okay. So one last thing I would like to ask you, Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to just about everybody who's channeled or had a an opinion on this subject.
Mm-hmm.
And then bizarrely, I had my own little vision yesterday, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of wild, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, is everyone, and this has been going on. I mean, maybe I've only been aware of it for a year, and maybe, but is I keep hearing about the 3 days of darkness, and one person, and they're like, well, it's not really dark, but everything stops for 3 days, or it's just been a million different things. And it's like, why is this come up now? Why is that this a topic of conversation and great interest in the spiritual community?
And this is a 3 days of darkness.
Yeah, I mean, prominent channelers, and just lots and lots of people in the spiritual community. They're all talking about it, or channeling about it, or uh,
Mm,
is the 3 days of darkness, and they're vastly different interpretations.
mm, mm. So are you aware that they're discussing actual physical darkness, or are they talking about a an inner individual darkness?
They're all talking about the entire planet has 3 days of darkness. So it doesn't mean that it's physically dark, but it
Mm-hmm.
seems to mean that there is a trigger. There's a trigger, something triggers it.
Mm,
And whether it is an act of nature or a sun thing or whatever, but there's a trigger. But during this trigger, some of them say that it's a time that humanity will receive great enlightenment, and other people are like, I don't know, it's all over the board, but it's constantly being discussed. And
mm,
I don't know if it's, sometimes something comes up in the spiritual community, and then everyone, it just gets spread around.
mm-hmm.
But it's like I've probably heard about it 5 times this week. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the other thing is I stopped watching a lot of spiritual programs that uh, because well, part of it is the repetitive. The other is I think I've grown a lot. Not that I, am not inspired by other people's stories. Um, and because I think a lot of them during this particular time are not relevant. It's like, anyway, I don't know. I got a lot, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different ideas happening, but I was just wondering about that,
Mm-hmm.
if Abraham's not feeling like there's something, but
Mm-hmm. Well, what we will say is that it's possible because think about the idea of the individual and the collective, whether it's family or a town, city, state, country, world. If an individual can have a dark night of the soul, whether it's a one night or a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is,
a
if an
year.
individual can have it, yes, a year. If an individual can have it, then a group can have it,
Oh,
right? Can have an
okay.
event of some kind that triggers the thing that we talked about earlier. That triggers that point where they say, you know what, I'm no longer focused on this. I'm tired of it. This is what we want to establish. This is what we want to happen. And we're going to focus and make this happen. And so their attention, their focus, and how they feel is directed toward an experience that they're intending to create because they got to this low point or this point, right? Then we would consider that to be, you know, potentially, potentially a place of what one might call darkness, getting to a point that causes them to shift and hold their focus in the direction of what they want to experience, what they want to
Yeah.
establish.
Yeah.
And like we said, individuals, that happens with individuals all the time. So
Yeah.
that means it can happen with groups of people, entire
Yeah.
planets. It can happen
So,
because think
well,
about the connectedness of your planet is connected via your internet, right? And so, yes, information is filtered from country to country, but the internet still allows large parts of the story to be told. If you're looking for something, you can find it. So couple that with the energies that we talked about with that is be growing in momentum and people seeing what's happening, not just in their community or in their country, but around the world, and beginning to say, you know what, I don't understand why everyone can't just work together. I don't understand why resources are not distributed equally if abundance is the truth, which it is.
right.
When people start saying that and people start intending higher ideas, higher experiences, not just for themselves, but for the world, because as an individual begins to intend higher experiences for themselves, it opens them up to be able to see the possibility for higher experiences for their families, their cities, their countries, and they begin to think that way. But it starts with the individual seeing higher for themselves in order for them to expand in capacity to be able to begin to see higher for others around them. That's why it's so powerful for the individual to focus on their personal transformation. Because the more the individual transforms and empowers themselves, the more they begin to see and the more they begin to allow in more expansive potentials that doesn't just involve them as an individual. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
think
like the
that,
difference between the janitor and the CEO of a company. The janitor sees their area of responsibility. The CEO takes in everybody's responsibility because they're responsible for the whole thing, right? Benny used to tell his older sons, you're mad at your brother or your sister because you think they're not doing as much as you're doing, but you're really focused on your circle because you don't know when you're not here or you're at a practice whether your brother or your sister's washing the dishes or they've cut the grass. You don't know because you weren't here. You're focused on your circle and you're comparing them to what you do in your circle. Well, mom and dad has everybody's circle inside of their circle. You don't see all of the things that we see, right? And that's what we're talking about. The individual, the more they expand, the more they're able to begin to house ideas that incorporate more than just them. But it involves it starts with that personal expansion, that personal evolution and expanding out and increasing capacity, reaching for higher. And the higher you reach, that reach pulls you higher. And then the higher you're pulled from an awareness standpoint, the further you can see, the more possibilities, the more potentials. And you get to the point where you can start to see how an entire planet can work together.
Mm,
The idea of your United States and the individual states govern themselves but working together as a country, that same idea could be your planet.
right.
But the only way for that to happen is if the correct energy, the correct vibration is undergirding that idea. And when people
Well,
start to focus on that in that direction, right? There's no reason for people to be hungry on your planet. Now, everybody has their different inspirations to where, some people just want to live on the beach. Others want to influence the world, right? So they're going to command more resources than the person that just wants to live on the beach, potentially. And that's okay. But there's no reason for anybody to be hungry in the process, right? There's no reason for anybody to be homeless in the process.
absolutely. I mean,
Human, Humanity could support everybody from that place and not be frustrated or anything about it, while at the same time allowing this individual who is not inspired to do any huge things to be perfect right where they are. But we're not going to let you go hungry.
totally.
High vibration doesn't compute to high vibration because I'm not expecting anything. I'm not expecting anything of you, and what you do doesn't affect me as an individual because my expressions are reflected back to me. But I can be of support as I'm inspired to. And when a person is operating from their core, they don't allow people to go hungry. They don't allow families to get broken up. They don't allow, that type thing. Because if abundance is abundance, then abundance takes care of all of those things without taking away from anyone. There's too much. There's too much available for anyone's resources to suffer to be in support of another. There's too much. Abundance is the truth.
Completely. Completely. I mean, I hope that the world in the future has no borders and has no homeless, has no food shortages, and everyone has access
Mm-hmm.
to to basic human rights, you
It's
know.
fear that drives it. It's fear that drives it. That's not love that's driving that. That's fear that's driving
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Well, I think I don't know what I will see before I leave this planet, but I've seen a tremendous amount in the time that I've been here. And I think about that too. So,
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of things I'm thinking about. And
Mm-hmm.
um,
We love the experience that you said was different because again, when you pull everything back to the strength of the individual, your individual strength to choose and to intend, no matter what you see going on in your country, in your world, you can intend in the highest and see and find that right where you are in the world. You can see people who you know are of different religious or political backgrounds holding the door for each other as they walk in and out of Starbucks or the gas station, right? You can see someone of a different affiliation or a different race or ethnic background laughing with their children and their family enjoying themselves at the restaurant. You can see those things and you can grab hold of those things and say, this is the world that I intend. This is a world that's possible where people are interacting in this manner consistent without fear of each other. in the idea of abundance, the knowing of the truth of abundance versus the many ideas that spurned from lack and scarcity. You can begin to see those things in your individual world and leave this plane of existence at whatever point that is, knowing that that could be everyone's experience.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. We thank you tremendously for this interaction. And we know that we can't even really describe how powerful this was and how powerful we know it will be for anyone who comes in contact with this recording. We are extremely grateful for the opportunity to be of support. And if you come in contact with this information and you are inspired to participate with us, just go to www.conscious-discussions.com and register, connect, and you will get all of the information you need to be able to sign on and participate for the next conscious discussion. We love you very much, and we will talk to you soon.